So I learned how to read ingredients. I started eating more whole, and my health conditions, they started going away.
Wow.
I was the biggest sugar addict you ever want to meet. Okay. But guess what happened? When I went to plant-based food, my cravings went away.
Stop that.
They
Really?
totally left.
Welcome to the Indomitable Podcast. I'm your host, Ciruolo, and today we have another great episode that will leave you inspired. Today's guest is the indomitable Diane Randall. Diane has over 20 years of experience as a whole living consultant committed to helping busy professionals achieve overall well-being. She focuses on creating harmony, holistic wellness, promoting self-care, and embracing a plant-based lifestyle, empowering individuals to make healthy choices every day. Diane is also a published author of 2 influential books, Jumpstart Your Life, Find Your Motivation to Change Your Life One Step at a Time, and A Whole Life Nourished, Plant-Based Living with a Holistic Approach. Additionally, she shares her insights through teaching, hosting workshops, and engaging listeners on her podcast, Plant-Based Curious. You've seen her writing before, featured in publications like the New York Times and consulting magazines, and she has made appearances on prominent platforms such as The Oprah Winfrey Show. Well, hello, Diane. I am so grateful to have you here.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Okay, so before I run off in a direction, how about you just introduce yourself to everybody listening and just anything that I left out?
Well, I think you covered everything. Basically, I am a whole living consultant, and what that means is I help people bring together their mind, their body, and their spirit, because it's not just one thing. We're whole people.
Let's start at the beginning. What kind of got you to the place where you were like, okay, I need to be thinking about my health. My diet is a big part of that. I would like to go into trying out veganism.
Okay, so it was a process, okay?
Of course.
Many years ago, being a young engineer, a divorced mom with 2 small children, trying to juggle a career. I also had started a business. And at that time, being so young, I had high blood pressure because of the demands of motherhood and the demands of the role in my career at that time. Wonderful career. I felt blessed, but at the same time, my health was going to hell.
Yeah. Yes, I get that.
The amount of stress I had being that single mom and trying to manage a career, I didn't have any tools to balance my stress, to balance my life. I'm just in the moment doing what I have to do. So because of that, I ended up with high blood pressure, high cholesterol. My doctor kept saying, we got to turn this around. You're headed into heart attack and stroke. I had a lot of gut issues.
Yes, of course.
The gastroenterologist said to me, I think you have Crohn's.
Oh my gosh.
He said, I'm going to send the pathology off, but, I'm pretty sure you have it.
Wow.
Fast forward a week later, I did not have Crohn's.
Wow.
He saw there was definitely a lesion, a healed lesion in my stomach, which was bad enough from all the stress in my life. But that was a catalyst for really, really changing. I mean, you know how we try to change. We let go of this, we let go of that. It's a very slow process.
Of course.
But that was the moment when I said, okay, I have to go all in. I have to figure out what does it mean to really be healthy.
Yes.
And for me, I went to nutrition school.
Okay.
Because I thought I was eating healthy.
Yeah. Yes.
You could have told me I was not eating healthy and clean.
Yes.
But what I learned about whole foods. I learned about the difference between processed foods and vegetables, legumes,
Yeah.
fruits, beans. If
Yes.
I read organic, whole food on the box, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. I know.
So I learned how to read ingredients. I started eating more whole, and my health conditions. Keep in mind, I'm in my early 30s. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
They started going away.
Wow.
I literally felt better. And I was the biggest sugar addict you ever want to meet. Okay. But guess what happened? When I
What?
went to plant based food, my
Yeah.
cravings went away.
Stop that.
They
Really?
totally left.
I am such a sugar addict. My ADHD makes me so, I'm like, oh my God. So that's the part I'm still hung up on too. So good for you.
Well, but I know that I'm not under any illusion that if I would start eating sugary, that I wouldn't get addicted again. Okay. So, and it's been 21 years.
Good for
It's
you.
been
That's
21
awesome.
years. I mean, I'll have a vegan piece of cake or
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
type of plant-based, where it's
Yes.
made with dates or almonds or something like that.
Yes.
But here's the difference. I'll choose that every now and then. I'm
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
a dope fiend looking for a fix, like
Definitely.
I
Not like at the end
was.
of your day every night
That's
of like,
right.
yeah,
That's right.
asking for a friend. Yeah. So you completely changed your health around. What kind of feedback were you getting throughout that process?
The feedback I started getting from people is, wow, what are you doing? And then I would go to conferences or have meetings. You know how they bring in all the food.
They do.
And people were noticing that I was probably the only one not going into cookies or trying to get
Yeah.
desserts. I mean, one
Yeah.
time I was at a conference and they had a dessert table.
They do that. They sure do.
And I looked at it and kept going. And that's what people notice more often if I'm in a crowd of people, or they notice that, I'm not eating processed food.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
if I'm somewhere where there's no, not really much to eat, I may opt for a little salad or something, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I don't need to eat because, somebody threw food on the table, which, over time, that takes a lot of discipline to
Yes. Yes.
be able to let go and not feel you have to do things because
Yes.
somebody else.
Yes. Yes. Did you start to see that, you weren't at the same risk you were when you were even younger? Did you start to see that sort of
Well,
change
here's the
in your
thing.
health?
I didn't see anything when I was younger.
Of course.
Anything in terms of, I didn't even correlate my health with food at the time.
Right. Of course.
But what I saw in my family with the older people was
Yeah.
diabetes. It was
Yes.
rampant. I saw blindness. I saw limbs getting cut off. I saw my family members having to take shots,
Yes.
not only in their
Yes.
eyes, but in their arms as well. So that impacted me more. Not that I knew what to do and I set off on a journey when I was really young, but I
Yes.
said, I don't want that to happen to me.
No.
So I feel that as I got older, because I was always curious about food and what was in it, but I didn't have the information for a long time. I
Mm.
didn't know about ingredients. I didn't know about additives in foods.
Yes.
And I didn't know that eating whole foods was really my best bet. And as I've evolved, and it's been an evolution, it's been
Of
a
course.
process.
Yes.
It's taken me a lifetime to be where I am today,
Yes.
where I'm mostly whole food,
Right.
plant-based.
Bless your heart. Okay, so you're a mom, you've got 2 young kids. At what point do you start looking at things and saying, oh, they're saying that this is healthy for my kids and it's completely filled with garbage? Is that just right away for you, or is that
No,
over time?
that was over time.
Yeah.
I mean, over a long time. I
Yeah.
used to feed them Hamburger Helper.
Yep. I know about Hamburger Helper.
You
I
know,
know her. Yep.
I used to feed them, those foods that kind of go a long
Mhm.
way, but
Sure do.
as I learned, I did better. But here's something awesome that was happening at the same time. I was in technology as a
Yeah.
consultant, and part of my job was in manufacturing, where software, where I go into companies,
Yep.
food companies,
Yes.
And I literally have to know what the ingredients were in the
Right.
manufacturing process of food. And I've been in most companies at this point.
Yes.
I didn't realize what a gift that was, but here's what happened. Even before I was tuned into plant-based, I would see how certain products were prepared and I would say, I'm not ever eating that again. But I
Yes.
still didn't correlate it with being plant-based
Right.
or being processed. It's just that, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Is that where that comes from?
Yes.
But intuitively, I got that that was not something I would eat. So that has truly been a blessing.
Yeah.
And I don't name companies and I don't judge
Course.
them because,
Yes.
we are where we are.
Sure.
And everybody's not trying to be plant-based and vegan.
Right. Right. But I think everybody's trying to eat food, right? Like
They're trying to
everybody's
eat
trying to eat
food.
Okay.
So when I would get that information, I would definitely take it off the table for my family.
Yes. Wow. I mean, I struggle with my kids. I'm a mom. My kids are 9 and my daughter's turning 7 next week. I'll be at the grocery store with them and they'll come back to me with something like that has like a minion or something on it, right? Like, Mama, this is healthy. And I'm just like, what about that makes you think that it's healthy? Where are you getting your information from?
Yeah.
Like, what do you, and it's so insidious, right? Because even just the marketing is telling you this is a healthy food. This is something that you eat for breakfast. Like, why are we not putting food ingredients in food, would you say?
Well, the biggest part of that is to make the food for the masses.
Sure.
So more people would buy. And if you read the ingredients, especially on a lot of those snacks,
Mm-hmm.
there's most likely no food ingredients.
Right.
It's more chemicals, it's more words that you can't even
Right.
pronounce.
Yes.
So that's where we are today.
Yes.
Today it's about most people making profit.
Yep.
And by profit, we need to spread it out
Mm-hmm.
and give it to other people. I see this pattern
Yeah.
of regular food companies purchasing these good plant-based companies.
Yes.
But what they do is they change the ingredients after they
Yes.
buy the company.
Yes.
And then something I used to love is now full of crap.
Now it's yes.
It
Exactly.
wasn't 100% perfect in the beginning,
Right.
being
Right.
vegan, because just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's healthy.
I mean, Oreos are vegan, friends. Yeah. Let's be clear here.
But but it's now something that I can't even eat because instead of having oat milk it as the leading ingredient for the cheese, it's now some type of oil. There's like
Yes.
3 oils in this one ingredient.
Yes.
As
Yes.
an example, but that's what's happening today. So over time, what I've done is I lean more toward whole food plant-based. If
Mhm.
you can do lasagna, you can do all kinds of
Yeah.
things with food that you never imagined, food and grains and you can do all kinds of things. So as I've evolved, I try to stick toward more whole foods. I
Yes.
do, vegan foods is okay. Vegan just means that you have committed to doing as less harm as possible to the environment,
Right.
to animals, but
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's healthy. It
Right.
doesn't mean that.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. As I always tell people, Oreos are vegan, right?
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I could eat that are vegan that you should not be eating in general. Not having animal products in it doesn't mean it's not entirely chemical.
There is this idea in society that if there's no animals, you're right, it's
That's
vegan,
right.
but
That's
but
right.
that's a deceptive
That's
thing.
exactly
It really
right.
is.
That's exactly right. So they're not even saying, and I don't mean to call out Oreos here. Oreos are great, whatever. So, but it is absolutely true that you will get something that's like a food product that'll be entirely chemicals, but it'll have that V on it, like letting people know that it's vegan, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's food even. So, I mean, going through the process of having to feed my own family, I have had to learn so much about what goes into food. And
Yeah.
I'm not even doing, I don't, who has the time when you have 2 young kids in the grocery store? Why are the lights so bright? Why is the sound so loud? Like, you do not have that time constantly to be going product to product and searching for food in your food products. I mean, it's incredible how difficult it is to undergo this process. So
And I hear you. I hear you. It's not easy.
Yes.
And all we can do is our best.
Yes.
There's no perfection in this at
Yes,
all.
of course.
I look at it as an evolution
Yep.
over time.
Yep.
It's like I do with my grandson. I explain to him why
Yeah.
you don't want to eat these Doritos.
Yes.
What's in there.
Yeah.
Now, some of that has worked.
Mm-hmm.
He'll go back and tell his parents, I'm never eating another corn dog.
Yeah.
Because Grammy said it causes cancer. So I don't put pressure on him because his family's not vegan. My son is not vegan. I don't have other plant-based members in my family. I just try to educate. Because I don't like the aggressive approach either. It just doesn't work.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm just a role model.
Yeah.
That's what I try to be to people.
Yes.
I eat what I eat. And if they have questions, I give them information, which is why I started my podcast, was to educate, because I think that is the biggest missing links.
Mm-hmm.
And with children, it's harder because, they want junk 24/7.
They want junk 24/7, and they will get it no matter what you do.
They will get it. But what I try to do is because now you can find a lot of alternatives.
Yes.
And sometimes, like my grandson, I take I open the box and I take the plastic bag out so he doesn't know that these cookies, are full of sugar. Because if he read it, he wouldn't eat. You know what I mean? If he read it, he wouldn't eat it.
Yeah, I do. I think that's true for a lot of us. If we read it, we wouldn't eat it. I mean, right? Hot dogs still exist. Every time I talk about not eating meat in our family, right? Anytime I have that conversation with anybody, whether it's at my kid's school or it's out in the world, people seem to immediately feel judged. Like I am judging their choices for food, even though I kind of look at veganism like a religion. I'm not going to try to convert you. You're not going to convert me. Not a big deal, right? Why do you think people feel so judged when you tell them that you don't eat meat?
I think the main reason people feel judged is because, especially adults, it's because at some point their doctor probably told them to cut back on certain things. And what I've learned is being plant-based and vegan is a mirror for a lot of people. Not judging them for not being vegan, but a mirror that says, I should be doing better with what I'm eating.
Oh, I think you're completely right. I struggle to see things from the outside when I'm seeing it as my own issue, right? So I don't talk to people about it. I won't bring it up unless I absolutely have to, which would be like if we're sitting down to dinner and I'm just like, hey, no big deal. I'll find something on the menu. I'm not trying to have a conversation about it, right? Because I'm not trying to be that person. And people will immediately bring that conversation to, well, are your kids... your kids don't eat meat. Aren't you worried that they're not getting everything they need to grow up healthy? And it goes into this really weird place where I'm suddenly defending my choices for my family.
See, I don't defend.
See, you're ahead of me. You're so ahead of me.
I told you this is a process. This is a process and it's practice. What I don't do is defend my decision.
You are so right.
People do say that. Aren't you worried about not getting enough protein and
B12? Aren't you worried about not getting enough B12? People are suddenly nutritionists. I'm like, all right.
But you know what I say? I'm getting plenty of protein.
Right.
Because guess what? That cow is eating that plant, okay? And that's where the cow is getting the protein from. That's right. So I remove the middle animal. That's what I say.
Yeah, you remove the middleman. Yeah, exactly.
So it's really about education, 24/7.
Yes.
And if they don't, I'll make a statement. I'm not sitting there going over and over and over again, about my choices. I definitely don't defend myself at all. Because I'm like you, I'm not, if I'm teaching, that's one thing. If I'm on my podcast, which is why I started, so I could say what I want to say.
Yeah.
I just do what I do, but people typically notice what I'm eating.
Yes.
That's how that conversation starts.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I don't get on a high horse, and I
No.
don't get on anything.
Yes.
I will answer any question that
Yes.
they ask. Like
Yeah.
you, aren't you worried about B12?
Yeah.
Aren't you
I'm
worried?
just like,
No, because I go to the doctor at least once a year, and I
right?
get my blood work done, and I have never ever had a problem with protein.
Yes.
Usually protein is not the issue.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
In most
Whenever.
people.
Whenever. I know, right? For that to be the conversation constantly, I'm like, when do you hear about your protein intake? Literally ever.
But even my doctors have, when I tell them I don't eat meat and dairy, immediately they give me every test they could think of to test. And I've never had anybody come back and say, Diane, you're low on B12, you're low on this, you're
Ever.
low on that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Same. In fact, the opposite. So like when I was eating meat, when I was eating all of that stuff, like I would regularly have doctors, anytime I had blood work, your cholesterol is a little bit high or this or
Yeah.
that. And I'm like,
Always.
oh, gosh. Right. And then I haven't eaten meat since, let's say, more than 10 years. So anytime I have that conversation with folks, they're like immediately, well, how did you have babies? How are you not feeding them? Like, what are you? And I'm just like, well, anyway, here we all are. Like, right? I don't know. You're so right. I don't need to be defending anything. It's just there's that immediate pushback though, right?
It's a question though, right?
Yes.
It's a question. How are you feeding your baby?
How are you feeding your baby?
I'm either breastfeeding and I'm supplementing that with plant-based milk, which is
Yes.
what my daughter-in-law is doing in this moment with her new baby. And my daughter, who's pregnant now, she will do the same thing.
Yep. My daughter, when she was born, we waited until she was 1 year old and she couldn't do cow milk. Like her body would not process it.
A lot of the baby formula is milk-based.
Yes. Yes. That's right.
So I've just found a brand that is plant-based. And even my daughter, when she was born, because I didn't know anything at that time, but she drank the milk and she turned blue. She choked a couple of times.
Yep.
She could not process that cow gene. So that's what, gave me a little insight.
Yes.
So
that
even many years ago, she couldn't drink the milk. So but what the breast milk and the plant milk does is it doesn't give your child all that gas and all those digestive issues that in my day it was like, oh, that's just part of the baby getting used to drinking milk.
Yeah.
And I didn't want my kids, when they had children, to go through what most parents went through at the time.
Yes.
The colic and all that. If you've ever heard that shrilling scream from a baby with colic, it is so, it just scares me.
It scares you.
So it doesn't have to happen. I'm not saying some babies don't have sensitive stomachs.
Yeah.
But the best way in my family is to err on the side of the breast milk and supplementing that with the plant-based milk.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's where we landed as well. So where do you normally have these conversations start?
The main one is, where do you get your protein?
Of course. Where do you get it?
And I love that question. And I teach people the different sources of protein, especially when I teach I go into detail about, the legumes. What? Beans? What? Beans?
Yeah, I know.
Even your leafy green vegetables. And I think it's so simple. A lot of people find that hard to believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
They find it hard to believe. And I also feel that because there's also this background effort, because I don't blame people for making their choices totally, because there's this big machine in the background.
That's right. There's a money-making machine.
That adds a lot of sugar, salt, and fat to the food, so that we're so hooked that we can't even think of not having what we want to have. I don't blame people for not having willpower or discipline, because there is no willpower and discipline when you're up on that. Like I said earlier, I was such a big sugar addict, and I'm so grateful now, because I know I would be fighting some kind of chronic disease by now. It was really, really bad.
Yeah.
So as I've gotten older and I'm not fighting a lot of chronic illnesses, I'm just going to say, for me, I feel that it's really helped me to have a better life without being in the hospital,
Yes.
without having all these things that,
Injections.
that come from eating the standard American diet.
So true. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about what types of things that people are fighting against in terms of, dairy subsidies. So now extra cheese has to be in everything, and, sugar subsidies. So we can't write down, how much the daily intake of sugar should be on the back of any of our products. Let's talk a little bit about what people are fighting against when they go to the grocery store to pick up their food.
People are fighting against advertising.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest culprit, okay? Because if I'm reading the front of the box, it says organic, it says
Yes, it
it's
does.
healthy, it says it has omega-3, you can read everything, then that is the biggest deception.
Yes.
Because if I turn that box over,
Yeah.
let's say cereal,
Yeah.
there's nothing
Yeah.
in that's even legible.
Yes.
As far as a ingredient. And not only ingredients, there's also additives that are not even on the box.
Yes.
So what I tell people, all I'm saying, if you buy something that's in a box or a package, please read the ingredients.
Yes.
Read the ingredients on the box or the package. Carefully. Everybody has a phone today. In that phone, you can look up the ingredients, but I have something better. I have something called a Yuka app, Y-U-K-A. And all I have to do is scan the package or scan the whatever has the barcode on it.
Right.
And that Yuka app will tell me if it's bad, if it's poor, if it's good, if it's excellent. And not only that, it will tell me why. It will list the ingredients. It will say, oh, this has a little bit too much sugar, a little bit too much salt, and it will make recommendations.
Diane,
for
you
the
changed
healthier.
my life.
It changed mine.
You just changed my life.
It has changed mine.
Wow.
And here's the beauty. This is Yuka app is designed by a startup in Paris. And they're not even funded by any big companies. They're funded by people.
Right.
So I'll just say today, they can tell the truth.
Wow. I hate when I hear from international communities that, oh, that's not even food. That's not even legal here. Are you feeding that to people? And it's like, how did we get here?
Well, the United States, a lot of our food, we have to change the ingredients on a lot of our processed foods before we ship it anywhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just know, and that's why I believe we have the most cancer, the most heart disease, the most diabetes.
We're living the shortest, sickest lives of any generation before us.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And that is what motivates me and inspires me. To just give people information if they're interested in where to look. I'm not even trying to tell you what to do about it.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you information.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here for me, my family, and the people are here to learn from me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not getting up on any soapboxes. That's not my style. But like I'm horrified that people can't find food often in the grocery stores. Like I'm constantly being told by people, make sure you only do the outsides. Don't go in the middle because the middle is where all the processed stuff is. And it's like, that's where all the kid food is. That's where all the things that the kid, like, right? And that's stunning to me that you can get away with that.
But I can't stand big grocery stores because it's true. If you look in that store, it's mostly processed food.
Yes.
If you look in the soft drink aisle, you got 100 brands of soda.
Yes.
You got 100 brands of drinks. I mean, and for me, I get overwhelmed because it's too much.
Me too.
I mean, and if you think about how the supermarket has even grown over time, because it's not enough to have the Oreos. No. Now you have the Oreos with what candy and all something else on top
different
of
colors,
it. So
different, exactly.
So the fat, sugar, and salt has really been doubled and tripled in the food that's supposed to be healthy.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so true. And then you're exactly right. We'll go and we'll find like meat alternatives, right? So that you can have a cheeseburger at like a family gathering or something like that, just to like kind of ride through it. And then that company will be taken over. And suddenly it's all chemicals and it's not food anymore. And you're still like, but there was no announcement of that, right? There was no
No,
like, oh, we took over and we've changed the
no,
recipe and we've
no,
all this. So it's
no.
like you have to be constantly checking, not just like you check the one time and it's good for life. You check and then you check and then and that's like, of course, nobody has time for that. It's you're fighting against this constant system that is so much bigger than the individual, right? Like a system so much bigger than us.
So here's what I say. I'm not fighting anybody. I'm just more intentional about what
Yes,
I eat. And what
you're
that
right.
means is I am reading and looking. So for example, if I'm going to a restaurant, because if I'm traveling or something,
Yeah,
I'm looking at the menu as to what I can eat.
right. Yeah,
And I personally don't go into these big super stores,
yeah,
because all that means is double or triple the processed food in the
that's right.
store.
Yeah, yeah,
So I can intentionally think about what am I going to eat, because we, at least years ago, the idea was to get you not to think about what you were eating because
yes.
you were so busy.
You were so busy,
So
right?
what I've done and what I share with people is we have to get a hold of that busyness, because that
Yeah,
busyness is causing us to have poor health. It's
yes,
causing us to not pay attention to our lives. So I'm very intentional about what I eat.
yes,
And even when I go to the restaurant, I'll ask, can you, I'm vegan, I'm plant-based. Can you, take out the cheese? Can you take out this? And most of the time they can veganize it for me.
yeah, yeah,
But I have gone to restaurants where the last restaurant I went to, I think I was in Arizona, lady's like, oh no, they're not going to change that. And I'm like, that's fine.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
fine. That's fine. So what I do is I don't make a big fuss about it, even though
Yeah,
sometimes it's very annoying. But
yeah, yeah,
a lot of people cater to the audience that they have or the
yes,
customers that they have. And,
yes,
I don't even get into that. I used to get really annoyed, but I
right.
don't
Yeah,
anymore. I just
yeah,
have to let that go. Either I eat when I leave, or if it's really not conducive to my plant-based lifestyle,
yep,
I eat before I go.
yep. I know. I was just in Texas and I was sitting there trying to have that conversation but not have that conversation. And there's
Right.
like stacks of like ham that I'm just going around and people are like, oh, do you need help with it? I'm like, no, it's not that. Thank you though. Like I'm so thankful. Thank you. I'm gonna eat this biscuit, but thank you. You know
But
what I mean?
I will definitely ask, do you have a vegan menu?
Yeah.
Because people need to know.
Yeah.
They need to be educated.
Yes.
But
Yes.
sometimes you can be somewhere, okay, this is not one of those things where,
Right. Right. I don't go to a lot of barbecue joints,
exactly,
to be honest.
exactly.
Like, I don't go to a lot.
Yes. So if the menu doesn't say plant-based, but then
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, because I kind of figured it wouldn't, because I looked at the menu
Right.
most of the time before I got there. But it's more about educating the public,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people want to know more. At
Yes.
least that's what I'm getting. They
Yeah.
want to know more. They want to be healthy. It's
Yeah.
just so much information out there. And
Yeah.
here's what I say. I'm giving you the information, but please do your own research. Do your own research.
Yes. Do you think, I mean, I know what I think. Do you think that the reason we fight against this system that is making us so unhealthy is because of monetary interests? Just constant, like,
Girl,
no, I mean, I know what I think. I'm curious as to what you think.
it is definitely, and it's gotten worse because, as you know, a
Yeah.
lot of private equity companies have bought
Yeah.
hospitals, they've
Yes.
bought grocery stores,
That's right.
and it's about their financial model. How much money can I make?
Mm-hmm.
As I said earlier, a couple of my favorite vegan brands,
Mm-hmm.
got bought,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's not something, that I would eat. They became ultra processed, not
Right.
just processed in the
Ultra.
beginning,
Yeah.
ultra
Yes.
processed. And it's about getting it out to the masses,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like,
Whatever that
so
looks
that
like.
that money can just rise to the top.
That's right. And they don't care if it makes you sick because they make money off the
Well,
healthcare
well,
system. So it's just filtering
that's
all the way through.
that's exactly, and I think that is what we as people need to
Right.
understand.
Yeah. Yes.
That nobody has our best interest. Nobody as in healthcare, because it's sick care.
Yeah.
When you walk in that door, now it's, it used to be, I see my doctor, okay, I'll see you next year,
Yep.
unless I got sick. Now it's like, let me see how many ways I can get you to come back.
Yes. Yes. So true.
That is the traditional model of the hospital. You got your 10 minutes, but let me give you all these prescriptions, try to give you prescriptions, even if now they'll say, well, I want to, because I'm older,
Mm-hmm.
let me give you this to prevent.
Right. Preventative medicines.
That's
Yep.
right. You have to be such an advocate and be
Yes.
learn how to be more intentional about your life. There is no, I don't, like I try to help people with, I don't have time, because
Mm-hmm.
that masks a whole lot of things that you can
It
get
does.
yourself into.
Absolutely, it does. I just had a friend of mine, her mother just passed in her 70s from cancer, but her mother lived to be 96. And she was like, what is the 20-year different? Like nothing else is different. They grew up in the same place, all the same things. And it's like, I'm seeing that happen over and over in my community, just like life expectancy of like 96 because of a grandmother. And then suddenly the next generation down, 20-year loss of life expectancy. That's incredible to me that we're just not having that conversation. We're not talking about how it's the food that we're eating, how, our health system isn't really here to, offer us preventative care the way it is in other places in the world. It's just, it's incredibly sad to live within this system and see other people sort of becoming victims of it.
I say we don't have to be a victim. We just have to be conscious and pay attention,
Yeah.
because that grandmother that was in her 90s,
Mm-hmm.
she ate a lot different
She ate a lot different.
back then. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
now people say if it's something your grandmother wouldn't recognize,
Yeah.
you probably don't want to eat it.
Yes. I
So being
completely
that
agree.
next generation, I think now it's even worse,
Now it's even worse.
because it gets worse and worse because of that financial model and all
Investment.
that is, if you look around, a lot of companies are private equities, because
Mhm.
if in case you didn't know, Subway and some of the other chains are owned by one, Taco Bell,
Yep.
they're owned by one private equity company.
Yes. Yes.
So it's just paying attention, it's just educating yourself, it's reading, not to say that that's perfect, because we have environmental problems as
Oh,
well.
exactly. That's not even a fail safe, right?
That's
Like
right.
there's even bigger problems.
But what I say and advocate is, I'm going to do what's the best I can do.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that doesn't mean that you can't come down with cancer. It doesn't
Yes.
mean
Yes.
that you can't get things that are out of your control.
Yes, exactly.
But
Letting go of the control. Yeah.
is being conscious, aware, and letting go of that busyness, which means that I'm not going to pay attention to anything, or
Right.
if I don't have time. And I know it's hard and
Yeah.
challenging out there
Yeah.
to be focused, but we all have to become more intentional.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this because I love this answer. Do you think that plant-based is more expensive the way people think or less expensive?
Here's the thing. It's less expensive. First of all, you can go to Aldi and get organic vegetables. You can go
Yep.
to Walmart and get organic vegetables.
Yep.
But here's the thing. When you eat whole foods, you're not that hungry.
No.
You're
Yeah.
not snacking and eating all day
That's
long.
absolutely right. Like it's that experience of if you've ever eaten at McDonald's, you're hungry 20 minutes later. Like it doesn't do anything for you. It's not supposed to. It's to invite you back. If you're hungry again, they can make more money off of you over and over and over again.
Yep. And then what I say is it too expensive to have diabetes?
Is it? Yes, ma'am. That's definitely a. You're exactly right.
Is it too expensive to have chronic bowel disease?
Yes. Yes. Chronic health conditions, all of those
Yep.
things.
The ones that are related to the food that we eat.
Yep. If you separate, and I mean, in today's day and age, with the food prices being higher than they have ever been, just absolutely everybody everywhere is struggling when they're going to the grocery store to pay for those things. It's costing more, like time over time, not even because of inflation, but because the people providing that food feel like they can make that increase on it. So more people are struggling now than ever. So I have, anytime somebody talks to me about veganism, they're just like, oh, well, how can you afford that? Things are more expensive than ever. If you go and you look at your grocery store bill, and you know how they sort of break it down into produce and then other things, if you look at just the produce, you will see that everything's like $1. Everything's $1 or $2, or it's the cheapest part of what you buy. And people say that's because it's like, oh, well, it'll go bad faster. Yeah, but that's because it's food, right? Like, it should go bad faster. Like, if it's not going bad, that's definitely something you want to think about, right?
But it's the grains, it's the
Yes,
quinoa,
it's the quinoa.
it's the legumes. It is those things that you can buy in bulk
You
and
can buy
cook
them in bulk for 99 cents. Yep.
and make different dishes.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I see, it's the meat that's inflationary. It's the
Yes,
eggs, it's the
yes,
milk.
yes, yes.
So I'm not going to say that the vegetables haven't increased in price,
Sure.
but you get more
That's right.
for your money. And if you're eating whole foods, the beans, the legumes, and balancing all that out, you
Mm-hmm.
don't get hungry as much. That's the bottom line.
Yes, yes.
You don't eat, like, I don't snack. I do not snack at all. And I think that's from not having those cravings, but I make
Right.
sure, like, I had my oatmeal, I put raisins and walnuts in it. I get hungry around 11:30. I'm ready for
Mm-hmm.
lunch.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I'm out and I'm busy, I've gone to 12 or 1. But I do, as a practice, eat whether I'm hungry or not at
Yeah,
11:30 or 12.
yeah. I agree. Otherwise, it's going to go faster.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. I agree with that. Tell me about your books. So, what did you write about? Who are they for? Where should we buy them?
Okay, my latest book, which was published a week ago.
Congratulations!
Thank you. It's called A Whole Life Nourished,
Mm-hmm.
Plant-Based Living with a Holistic Approach.
Yeah.
And as I said, I've been a whole living consultant all these years. And there was a time when I didn't focus on food. I didn't have food in the equation. And over the years, I recognized that it starts with the food.
Yes, of course it does.
It starts with the food. And in that book, I have personal anecdotes on tips on holistic health, emotional well-being, because that's a big factor as
It
well.
absolutely is. It absolutely is.
And spiritual growth. I talk a lot about meditation. I talk about self-love, exercise, and I have simple recipes for people who just want to start. I also have social media, links to social media influencers or people who have plant-based channels on social media. I have um, YouTube videos. I have documentaries. I mean, I have what you need to get started, even debunk myths about what it means to be plant-based and
Oh my God.
vegan.
And there are
So
lots of those.
I go through that as well. I talk about environmental sustainability because that is a big piece of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I talk about my journey in the book and how I got where I am today. It's really a a process of actually what I incorporated in my life and what started that. So I had so much fun writing that book because I said, having the podcast Plant-Based Curious, I said I needed my listeners or anybody that's interested in being plant-based that wants to explore and learn more about it. I needed something they could go to, something they could walk through to show them what they could do to get started. So I'm really excited about that book.
I love that. Yeah, I have to ask you before I let you go. I wanted to talk to you. We didn't get to everything I wanted, but one of the things I want to make sure I get to is the concept of food deserts. So, I lived in Atlanta for 10 years, and I have a degree in anthropology. So one of the things that I focused a lot on was the just lack of availability of places in sort of poverty areas to buy fruits and vegetables. A lot of those areas were supported by bodegas and stuff where you could only kind of get things that were more expensive but ultra processed, as you say. What is can you think of any ways that as societies we can seek better support and advocate for our lower income areas to have access to better fruits and vegetables?
So let me tell you what's happening in a lot of these neighborhoods. There are local gardens now in a lot of these communities. There are also trucks, like food trucks, but they're vegetable trucks that come into these neighborhoods. So there is a massive effort, or has been for the past few years, to alleviate a lot of these food deserts, because as you just said, and I can tell you, sometimes they had a corner store with old vegetables and bad meat. I've been in some of these neighborhoods in my life.
Yes, exactly.
So what I am so excited about is the local gardens where the communities participate in growing the vegetables, as well as the trucks, the food trucks. I'll call them vegetable trucks, but they're like the food truck design or the food truck model. And they come in and they sell the vegetables to the neighborhood and food and farmers markets.
Yes, they do.
So I am very, very excited about what's happening today. But you're right, we can always do more.
Always do more.
Always do more.
And we can definitely support, those projects and those farms that are coming into inner city neighborhoods that don't have access to those fruits and vegetables, so they can set up on a certain day a week where people can come in and buy those things for themselves. Absolutely. So if you take anything away from this conversation, not just plant-based whole food eating, but definitely that you can be supporting your community to make sure everybody has equitable access to those things by supporting those projects. So, oh my gosh. Anyway, I could continue talking about this forever with you, obviously, but how do we follow you? How do we support your work going forward?
You can, my book just came out, A Whole Life Nourished. And also my website is www.dianerandallconsults.com. And my podcast, my workshops, my blog, all the information and content that I have, you can access from that book.
Yes, I love that. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. I love that.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. How we feed ourselves is so fundamental to who we are as human beings. So I'm so excited that you're out here doing this work. I have all of Diane's links in the show notes below. So if you are excited to work with her, or excited to read her book, or excited to know more about how you too can live a whole plant-based, whole foods lifestyle, feeling nourished and less busy, absolutely reach out to Diane. Y'all, thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to the Indomitable Podcast for more incredible stories of humaning. And remember, my new book, Indomitable, A Foster Care Story, is available wherever you get your books. So thank you to all of my Indomitable friends who came to see me on the road last week, and thank you for sharing your life's work and your experiences with me. If you have any more events you'd like me to bring the Indomitable experience to, please submit a request via my website. And finally, as always and as ever, I am so happy to have you here in community with me. And remember, together we are truly indomitable. Have a great week. Take care, everybody.